Hey guys, back with another video. So there's just a bunch of different topics that keep coming to mind, and so I'm just going to kind of hammer them out one by one. So one thing that honestly is very high on my list of concern right now is this concept of the digital currency, and more specifically central bank digital currencies, otherwise known as CBDCs. If you guys haven't heard of these, just do a quick Google search, and it will provide a little bit more information for you as to what these things are. But basically, in layman's terms, it's very similar to a cryptocurrency, except it's owned and regulated by the Federal Reserve here in the United States, and other Federal Reserves in other countries could potentially issue the same thing. There's already started to be a pushback from some of the states. I saw Ron DeSantis, who's honestly my hero, because I think out of any of the politicians in the United States that I've heard speak, he is most in line with my concerns and beliefs about what's going on right now, which is basically just an attempt to turn our country into something that's closely resembles fascism, which is basically, you know, if you guys are not familiar with what fascism is, it's not the same as communism, but it's similar. Basically, you still have private ownership of businesses, but you have complete and total government control. And I feel that's the direction that we're headed in. Basically, my entire premise is that I believe they want to convert the U.S. into something that more closely resembles China, or a country like China. And I think that's why at the beginning of the pandemic, we heard a lot of people saying, oh, look at what a good job China is doing with, you know, containing the virus. Oh, Americans have too much freedom. We should be like China. We should weld our people into the buildings and not let them go out to get groceries. Oh, because they've got no cases of COVID, which was complete bullshit. And it was just a way for the oppressors to make us feel bad for having the freedoms that we enjoy. So anyhow, this central bank digital currency is of grave concern, because basically what would happen in a scenario where when they introduce a central bank digital currency, the US dollar would no longer exist. It would be withdrawn from the market, if you will, and it would be replaced with a CBDC. And I don't know exactly what the ratio is, but let's say hypothetically, these central bank digital coins are going to be, I've heard some people say they're going to be called Fed coins, like a Bitcoin, but instead of a Bitcoin, it's going to be called a Fed coin because it's produced and owned and regulated by the Federal Reserve. So let's say hypothetically one Fed coin equals $1,000 US. You've got $5,000 US in your bank account. They're going to say, okay, we're automatically converting your US dollars for you into Fed coins. You now have Fed coins. Now there's two issues. One is, who knows if the purchasing power of those 5 Fed coins is going to be equal to your $5,000. I mean, there's no way to really know. My suspicion is that the purchasing power is going to be greatly diminished. And then the other issue is that under a system where everyone is using digital currency instead of paper currency that you can hold in your hands, all of our transactions are going to be monitored and recorded. So there's going to be no ability for anybody to conduct private transactions without the government knowing about it, and without them taxing it and regulating it and so on. So this is where I think, I mean, the thing is there's no way to stop private transactions, because there's always a way to do like a barter system, or what I've always been keen on, which is gold and silver. You can easily do private transactions with gold and silver coins or gold and silver bars. But honestly, we really don't want to lose cash, because if we lose cash, it's one of the first big steps that, as I always term them, the oppressors want to take from us, so that they can, again, tighten their grip of control over us, because that's really what this is all about. They want to slowly but surely tighten their grip of control on us until we wake up one day and we have very little freedoms, and the lives that we have all enjoyed for at least for me, for my 37 years, and however old you are for that X number of years, it will no longer exist. And literally reality as we know it will be completely changed. And there's another thing that's of very grave concern that's tied very closely, if not directly, to this concept of the central bank digital currency, which is social credit scores. So, and they already have this in China. For example, if you jaywalk, or I'm not even sure what other infractions can be included, but let's say if you post something on social media that the government disagrees with, you criticize the vaccine, for example, you'll get a negative hit to your social credit score, and your social credit score is likely going to be tied to various freedoms, and also very likely going to affect how and when you can spend your digital currency. So hypothetically, if one says something on Facebook or on Instagram or on Twitter or whatever avenue it might be that the government disagrees with, they can temporarily freeze your digital bank account. They actually did this recently in Canada with the truckers. When the truckers were protesting the vaccine mandates, they froze several of their bank accounts so that they had no purchasing power. So the same kind of scenario is very possible. It's very possible that can happen here. And honestly, this is above all the other issues right now. This is honestly my number one concern. We need to protest the digital currency with everything that we've got. We cannot let them take cash away from us. This is very dangerous, guys. And this is really why I'm doing these videos, because I think that we're at a turning point in history where, history always kind of like ebbs and flows. Like, it goes through periods of oppression, and it goes through periods of freedom, and it goes through periods of war and peace. We've been in a pretty good period for a while now, but unfortunately, I think that the people at the top are really keen on taking as much freedom away from us and as much resources away from us as possible. That's also what this is really about. It's not just taking the freedom, it's that they want control over the resources, because unfortunately, human beings tend to be greedy by nature, and they want to have as much resources, as much money, as much assets for themselves as possible, and they don't care about the next person. Because unfortunately, what I've come to realize is the sad truth that I believe is that 99% of human beings are quite selfish, and really they're looking out for themselves. Maybe they're looking out for their families, for their wife, for their husband and their kids. Beyond that, they really don't care about anybody else. And I know it sounds harsh, but guys, like, come on, when you really think about it, you know that what I'm saying is true. And I wish that it weren't, but this is the world that we live in. So we need to make the best of it, and we need to operate accordingly while being aware of some of these inconvenient truths. So we need to protest this digital currency. We need to protest the social credit system. The next video that I want to touch on will probably be related to the electric vehicle push and this push to protect the environment, because again, this is just an excuse that the oppressors have come up with to take away more of our freedoms. I'm not going to get too much into that now because I'm trying to keep these videos a little bit shorter. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If anyone has any questions, please comment in the comment section below. I will see you guys again soon, and hope everybody has a great day.